talk about the battle for ANC leadership. It, of course, is heating up as the party gears for its elective conference in a matter of weeks from now. Yesterday, the ANC announced its candidates who have been nominated for the top 6 positions of its National Executive Committee. Current ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, 2,037 votes, and Dr Zweli Mkhize at 916. These are the 2 frontrunners gunning for the presidency position. Mashatile, followed by Ronald Lamola and Oscar Mabuyane, are vying for the position of deputy president. Former President Kgalema Motlanthe, who announced the names yesterday, said the process is not closed and nominations can come from the floor, but the person should meet the threshold by receiving 25% support for them to be eligible for elections. Political analyst Prince Mashele joins us on Zoom to give us perspectives on the names that have been endorsed for the top leadership of the party. Prince, so good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me again. It's good always to be with you.
Absolute pleasure. I mean, let's just look at the top 2. Ramaphosa with those votes, Zweli with those votes. Talk to me. No surprises?
No surprise at all. By the way, I had been saying all the way to yesterday that Ramaphosa was going to win at Nasdaq. It was very clear if you look at the pronouncements that had been made by PECs way before branches nominated. The majority of PECs in the ANC had already thrown their support behind Ramaphosa. And number one. Number two, Zweli Mkhize had already been supported by the PEC in KZN. And there was no other candidate other than the 2 who had received support. So there are no surprises. Also, Ramaphosa has the weight of office behind him.
Is it basically, I mean, from what we're seeing, even though we're hearing from Zweli Mkhize that, you know, he's waiting until that last moment because anything can change, but does it look like a foregone conclusion that Ramaphosa is in for the presidency position?
Look, I can tell you here that Ramaphosa is going to be the president of the ANC after the upcoming conference. Zweli Mkhize stands no chance. If you look at the numbers, it's double. There is absolutely no way that Zweli Mkhize can climb higher than Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa is just going to cruise to office. To be honest, the writing is on the wall. Zweli Mkhize, if he was a wise man, was supposed to throw in the towel so that he doesn't embarrass himself.
If we look at the other candidates, and I mean, we had a strong vocal campaign from Lindiwe Sisulu, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as well, not garnering the votes to get in there. Again, surprises there, or was this sort of not really going to gain much traction to begin with?
No, the 2 candidates, that is Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and Lindiwe Sisulu, were problematic. They were never going to make it. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was known to be a horse ridden by her former husband, associated with Jacob Zuma. The name Jacob Zuma is a very problematic name in the ANC in South Africa. It's associated with corruption and state capture. So there was absolutely no way Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was going to make it. Lindiwe Sisulu also decided to campaign on a mad ticket. I mean, insulting judges, insulting the South African constitution. She offended a lot of people in the ANC and outside the ANC. So these 2 stood no chance at all. Even, by the way, Zweli Mkhize was a surprise because there are corruption scandals that are hanging over his head. So I'm not surprised that Ramaphosa has received the kind of numbers that he received. He is really the only man standing in the ANC, if you look around, with all his weaknesses.
Which is what it is worrisome. I mean, because we're just looking at that, and there's still the whole issue of Phala Phala hanging over his head, and the divisions, you know, that we think are in the party. But clearly, from looking at the nominations, it looks like they want him to be the man for the job. So you have the issue of a man with Phala Phala, who is the president of the country, having over his head. The next candidate, at obviously far lesser nominations, is Zweli Mkhize, who's got the digital vibe scandals hanging over his head. And I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at when it comes to leadership of the country.
Well, if you don't nominate corrupt leaders, who are you going to nominate in the ANC? The entire organization is corrupt. I mean, it's well known. It's not me who's making up this thing. There's a finding by Judge Zondo against the whole ANC. So the entire ANC knows that it is corrupt. There are no saints in the ANC. So you look and say, which one is a better devil? So in this case, Ramaphosa is a better devil. But corruption, ANC members are not worried about it. They know that they are corrupt themselves. Look at three individuals: Ramaphosa, Pala, Zweli Mkhize, digital vying, Nomvula Mkonyana, massive scandals in water affairs. So you can see that the ANC branches and members know that their party is corrupt. So what can they do? They corrupt their fellow, they nominate their fellow corrupt leaders.
All right, let's look a little further down the list. So we've spoken about those top positions and the most nominations there. Let's look at the positions of Deputy President, Chair, Deputy Chair, SG, Deputy SG, and Treasurer General. So we're talking top six here. Any surprises from these candidates? There's a few names that jumped out here that sort of everyone was saying, oh, okay, we didn't see that one coming, but let's talk through them. So we got Deputy President up there first, Paul Mashatile, followed by Ronald Lamola, and then Oscar Mabuyane.
Look, I was not surprised by Paul Mashatile, by the way. It was very clear that he wanted the job in the first place. And he managed to do something for himself, which is strike a deal with KZN. I mean, you will remember that he was pronounced by the PEC of KZN as a running mate for Zweli Mkhize very early in the race, which shows that he was hard at work and he was smart because he went to the biggest province of the ANC to strike a deal. And that's number one. Secondly, he's from Gauteng. Obviously, he had the full weight of Gauteng. And if you look at his opponents, really, there was no challenger. Ronald Lamola is way too young and way too ambitious to imagine himself as the potential deputy president of the country. There was no way he was going to be accepted widely by the entire organization as the potential deputy president of the party. So really, Paul Mashatile was running a one-man race. Mm-hmm. My surprise was Ndumiseni Ntuli from KZN. I didn't expect him, by the way, to receive the largest nominations. I expected people like Kgalema Motlanthe with his popularity and the fact that he has been serving at a national level. Ndumiseni Ntuli has never served at a national level. But if you look at him as an individual, Ndumiseni is one outstanding shining star in the whole lot. Yeah. There are no corruption scandals around him. He's young and he's generally a sound man. So he is one man that, by the way, that I would single out as someone who really shows that there is a bit of hope in the ANC. But if you look at the whole lot, the nominations are not inspiring at all.
Yeah, very interesting. And I think sort of like a lot of people agreeing with you on Ntuli and the nomination that came through there. And I mean, obviously, for Kgalema Motlanthe, many had thought that was the man for the job. But, you know, in terms of the nominations and the amount coming through, but Ntuli really stealing the show there. And that was one of those candidates where I think people looked through and thought, this is an interesting one, even though he has come through and said he's more than happy to do it. So, you know, putting him forward for Secretary General position is an interesting one. I just want to jump back, however, to, again, the Deputy President position. Didi Mabuza, a Deputy President now, where does he feature in all of this?
He's in the dustbin of history. Look, Didi Mabuza became Deputy President of the ANC through a scheme that many people can't even explain. He literally dribbled members of the ANC into that position. No one had ever imagined Didi Mabuza as a Deputy President material. Even, by the way, if you look at his his absent leadership in the ANC, he has been a silent Deputy President. You don't know what he has ever said, what he stands for. He is literally not qualified to be a Deputy President of any serious organization anywhere in the world. He himself knew, by the way, he has achieved something that is unimaginable. The first Deputy President from Mpumalanga, who by the way, is not qualified. So he knew that he was not going to stand a chance because there was no province that pronounced its support behind him. He even lost the support of his own province. So look, he's going to enjoy the perks because once a deputy president of the state, always a deputy president for life. So he's going to be driven around, chauffeur driven, but that's the end of it. He belongs to the dustbin of history.
Sure. Yeah, we're talking about chauffeur driving. It was quite a serious accident that happened over the weekend, and quite a tragic one at that, when it came to the deputy president and his security base around him. So, and not the first time we've seen the deputy president being involved in these kind of accidents. So, yeah, a bit of a worry and a concern there for the deputy president. Another position up for talking about, of course, is the Treasurer General position. Let's go there. Let's talk about the candidates there.
Those candidates, by the way, are surprising. All of them, by the way. If you look at Benjamin Chauke, the known advisor to President Cyril Ramaphosa, is not someone prominent in the ANC, by the way. He's generally known as a backroom operator, like an advisor, but not someone well known in the ANC. Pule Mabe, well known, but no one really thinks that Pule Mabe is such a serious leader who could convince anyone to donate a cent to the ANC. And then you have Masina from Ekurhuleni, also very controversial. I cannot imagine Masina sitting with any serious businessman and convincing them to donate a cent to the ANC. So these three actually don't have a stature of being reasonable, being convincing that they could attract funding to resuscitate the ANC. Remember, the ANC is facing serious financial troubles. So they are surprising. In my view, they actually don't have the credibility to do the kind of job that they want to have.
Now, I want to talk a little about Chauke, because that's, as you said, political advisor to the president, coming up there as a surprise. And I mean, the other two as well, you talk to them. I mean, there's not a massive lead. It isn't anything that we're looking at and saying, well, that's a foregone conclusion. It's like that. But a name like Benjamin Chauke, I mean, talk to us about that. You know, him coming up and him being there. What do you think about that?
It says a lot about the influence of Cyril Ramaphosa. Without Cyril Ramaphosa, I doubt if many members of the ANC can show you the picture of Benji Chauke. They don't know him. So he's there because he is known to be the advisor to the president of the ANC. Nothing much really other than that. He has never occupied a national position in the ANC. He emerged as a backroom operator advising or leading the campaign of Cyril Ramaphosa. Nothing much, which is why I am not convinced that he actually what it takes to occupy the position that he is vying for. I mean, that kind of position requires someone with a stature, with high profile, as well as credibility. You don't want to give your money to someone you don't know and someone you don't trust. So if you were to ask generally, the people with money in South Africa and outside South Africa, who is Benjani Chauke, and can you trust him? I doubt if most of them can answer yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know Gwen Ramakgopa was the one that I think was touted, or the endorsement came from the Ramaphosa presidency for her to come into that position. That brings me to a point of the appearance of women within this top six. Not too many, very few and far between. In fact, the only ones that we're seeing coming through is for the deputy position, and that's the Deputy Secretary General position. And we've got some women that are featuring there, but this is in the form of Nomvula Mokonyane, as we can see, and Phoebe Potgieter Kobule.
It's very clear. The ANC is a hunting club. You know, when you go hunting, generally you don't find women. So the ANC branches are very clear that they think of the organization as a male hunting club. I mean, these two women they are competing for the same position. So if the numbers are anything to go by, we are going to have one woman who is a Deputy Secretary General, which, by the way, is not even a powerful position. You deputize. So it's quite clear that the ANC is not serious about women empowerment. They say one thing, but the nominations tell us the real story, that members of the ANC don't care about women empowerment, number one. Number two, even the kind of women who is leading, by the way, Nomvula Mkonyane, has serious corruption allegations around it. Even, by the way, very strong findings by the Zondo Commission. So the ANC branches are saying, we don't care about women empowerment, but when we think about women, we actually don't care about women who are corrupt. We embrace them.
I just want to end off by asking, and I mean, it is an important question. I mean, does this list give a sense that there were any considerations for gender and age, other than the fact that the ANC said the 50-50 rule will apply on the nomination of the 200 names, from which the 80 names of the extended NEC will come from?
Look, with regard to gender, it's very clear there were no considerations, which is why you have two women contesting for one position, which is not a powerful position, the Deputy Secretary General. So it's very clear. In terms of youth, also, there are no young people there. You could argue that Mdumiseni Ntuli is young, but if you were to follow the definition of youth, which is the definition of the Youth League, is 35 years or younger. There is no one who's 35 years or younger. So quite clearly, we can see that the ANC don't care about women. They also don't care about youth. From the nominations, that message is emphatic.
Yeah. Prince, as I let you go, surprises? Could we be sort of open to those surprises? Because, of course, there's obviously the possibility of people's names nominated from the floor. Could this sway things or change things in any way, or is this pretty much so what we're looking at?
No, that's the picture. The ANC doesn't have a history of someone being nominated from the floor and beating those who were nominated by branches before. If you go through the history of the ANC, you'll struggle to find such individuals. I think that we should take this as a clear picture of what is going to transpire in conference. Remember, branches vote on behalf of those who mandated them. So the same branches that voted will send delegates to the national conference to actually make sure that what they have already decided doesn't change. So we should expect no surprises. Cyril Ramaphosa is going to be the president of the ANC.
All right, political analyst Prince Mashele, thanks again, discussing the ANC candidates who have been nominated for those top 6 positions in the party of its National Executive Committee. It was announced yesterday by the party.